All right, let's get on to the show.
Speaking of Gators, let's do that.
Yeah. Speaking of fried Gators or
Cooked Gators or whatever the hell they are at this point.
Yeah, are the Gators cooked right now? Cole is our SEC expert. You texted in the group this week that your thoughts around Florida might be changing a little bit. Obviously, DJ Lagway with now, I believe, either his third or fourth injury since being in college for a year and a half. Obviously was dealing with some stuff in high school too. You are kind of from that area. Listen, I'll just shut up. Thoughts on Lagway, this injury? Napier says he'll be limited a little bit here in fall. He was out for the entire spring. Not great news for the Gators. I don't think it's detrimental news, but I do think that this probably puts a little bit of air out of their balloon.
Here's what I want to do, just as, I guess, the SEC resident and people who have to comment and say SEC homerism. My homerism may come out a little bit here, but I will say let's pump the brakes on calling a player injured prone. Because of right now, we don't know what the severity is of the injury. We know that he is dealing with a boot on his foot. He is going to be limited in practice. He's not going to be 100% full go, but there was a sign that said he wasn't missing practice. It said limited at practice. So he is still going to be out there getting reps and prepared for the matchup against Long Island. And really the one that you're focusing on is that matchup against LSU in week 3. If you're losing to Long Island, it doesn't matter who's your starting quarterback. You have a lot more problems than DJ Lagway coming on in and dealing with some type of injury. The problem is, and this is where I will go ahead and say the glass is a little bit half empty. A player like DJ Lagway, I've watched in person multiple times because he grew up about 15 minutes from where I live right now. He is every bit the type of quarterback that you want to lead your program to a national title. From a skill standpoint, he has everything that you want in a quarterback that can take you to the mountaintop. Throwing mechanics, ability to play under pressure, the overall footwork is there, the accuracy, the ability to stand in the pocket and take hits. He's got it all. And this is why I say he is a top 5 quarterback coming into the season when fully healthy. Now, again, I think that he's better at this point than what you got with John Mateer. I think he's better than Drew Aller at this point. I think he's better than Arch Manning at this point. But he also is the one quarterback I have got to actually see practice, because this is a guy that we saw last season dealing with the hamstring injury, and he missed several games. Then he came on back and he fought through it and he did a good job, but he also missed a majority of spring. And this isn't a new offense for him, but there are a lot of new pieces for this team. You're bringing in Vernell Brown, a 5-star wide receiver. Nashawn Montgomery comes on in. J. Michael Sturdivant comes on in from UCLA. You had in Dallas Wilson, who, for my money, I think could be this year's Ryan Williams, Cam Coleman of the SEC. He is that talented. We watched that spring game, 2 tutties, over 150 receiving yards. He's got everything. But you don't have that relationship. And the problem is that you want to learn these things with your quarterback, not just through the summer, but in actual live reps throughout practices. You want to know that you guys are speaking the same dialogue when you have to go travel to Death Valley to take on LSU, when you have to go to Miami to take on the Hurricanes, when you welcome in Texas, when you go to Jacksonville for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, the Ole Miss game, the Florida State game. And right now, everyone at practice is fully healthy. This is the one time of the year where 99.9% of your roster that you believe can take you to a run of all runs is at its peak. And the most important position is limited in practice. And so that's a little bit worrisome. This is a guy that needs as many reps as possible. This is a guy that needs to understand and play at full speed. This is a guy that needs to be out there and unloading on players left and right. This is somebody that you want to see build that rapport. And so it's a little bit worrisome. I still don't think this is a detrimental move. Like, if we start to see him be limited in games and then they have to turn to Harrison Bailey at this point, then yeah, we have got to be concerned about the situation of Florida. So I'm not there yet. What I am saying is that when you look at a player that has everything that you want to be a Heisman finalist, a all-SEC player, an All-American, maybe even the first overall pick in an NFL draft, certainly the reason why Florida turns the corner. The thing is that you can have all the talent in the world. If you're not able to utilize that with reps and prove that you can stay actively on the field, it does you no good. I remember I was really high on Trey Lance coming out of North Dakota State. Loved his tape. Thought he was a phenomenal player. And I actually thought it was a smart move for an organization like San Francisco to draft him. But at some point, I had to stop saying when Trey Lance is out there. When we see Trey Lance, it was more so, are we going to see Trey Lance? We're not there with DJ Lagway just yet. but we're getting to that level of where you got to be optimistic, but also quite concerned on what the longevity of his career is going to be.
Here's my question to you, Cole. Is this a reflection on some shortcomings by the player or a reflection on staff in terms of the strength and conditioning? Like what's the issue here?
Can I jump in real quick? What I've been told by UF folks, Cole, and I don't know if this will frame some of your answer, but I will just throw it in. I know this question was for Cole. I've heard that he pushes really hard in a lot of his training.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily UF encouraged. Now we could have the argument of like, should UF be limiting him more? But I've heard some of this stuff is like just working out too hard, like just going too hard in the weight room where, yeah, I mean, maybe UF should put some handcuffs on him and say like, hey dog, chill it out. But I don't like, I would love to dog UF at all times possible. But I think this is a lot on Lagway pushing to be the biggest, fastest, strongest possible, like be a linebacker at the quarterback position, which maybe, I mean, I saw he's pushing 250 pounds. So again, I know that was directed towards Cole. I did want to share kind of the insight that I've learned on him as well. And maybe that'll help. Maybe that's exactly what Cole was going to say anyway, but that is what I've heard from some UF folks.
He has been a guy since his time at Willis High School where he won Gatorade Player of the Year that has pushed his body to the brink. And there were multiple games where you just watched him kind of take on over with his physicality, with his strengths, with his assets. And, you know, there had been a rumor that going into his freshman year, he was dealing with a high school injury that he never got taken care of and that it elongated into the regular season. And maybe that played a factor into him with the shoulder issue throughout the spring. But then you talk to him at SEC Media Days and he says, listen, I'm practicing, I'm out there, I'm full go. And I talked to some of my UF people and they're like, yeah, he's full go, but that doesn't mean he looks great. They're still easing him in. Like there's not a lot of limitations, but you can definitely tell that there is a slight drop off. And I do think that is just from pushing your body too hard. And it's a mentality factor. You know, you come on into college as one of the most sought after quarterback recruits in recent memory. And also, hopefully the savior for a program that when it's at its peak should be considered right alongside Alabama and Georgia as a premier location in the SEC. And you were the Gatorade Player of the Year. So there's a little bit of expectation to continue that legacy of being that guy. I think that's another thing that you have to look at. Now, can Florida say, dude, you can go 80%. You can go 50%. We don't need you to be pedal to the metal, balls to the wall, QB1 every single instance because we need you to do that when you play Georgia and Texas and Ole Miss and LSU and Florida State and Miami because this is a year that we are really banking on us building off of last season. Yeah, you could certainly say that. But also there's a part of me that goes, this is on him more than anything else as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I like the mentality. As any quarterback, you want your guy to be like Tebow at all times. But at the same time, they don't need him to be Tebow. I don't need him trucking linebackers. Does he have the physical ability to do it? Absolutely. I need him to be able to throw the ball. Tebow couldn't throw the ball quite like Lagway can and had mechanics issues. And you know, he threw for fine while he was at UF. But Lagway doesn't have to be that guy. Right. They've got enough talent around him. Not that 08 didn't have talent around it, but I think they have enough talent around him to where he needs to not go 110%, you know, in off-season workouts and in, you know, the way that he's adding weight and just different things, which I think is good weight. I don't think he's like, you know, out of shape or anything like that, but I don't know that he needs to play at 250 pounds like Tebow or anything like that. I think he's a little bit different and yeah, maybe back it off a little bit so that you can go 110% when you play Georgia and Texas and go on the road to College Station and play in Death Valley and play against Miami and all those things. Because, man, it feels like to me, listen, I'm not over here cheering for an injury, but it would surprise me if he made it through all 12 games healthy. You know, like it just
fair.
would.
And, I think that's fair.
You know, like, and any game that they play outside of like Long Island and USF and maybe Mississippi State, I mean, any game they play Florida State this year and he's not there. It's hard to see them winning a lot of games without him. They play Tennessee at home and he's not there. I mean, that is just such a drop off. They don't have an Arch Manning behind him, you know, like other teams like Texas had last year, or even a quarterback that can come in. Yeah, like there's not that guy behind him that I think can do anything. And so
I'll take it a step further. I'll take it a step further and just ask you guys: is there a more important player to their team's success in the SEC than DJ Lagway?
I don't think so.
Because if I can look at every other roster and pinpoint something that really stands out to where if you have average to below average quarterback play, yeah, you may end up winning that game. You may end up not going to the college football playoff or winning a national title, but I think that Florida has everything that you want to be a legit threat. If you do not have DJ Lagway, your backup plan is a veteran who has bounced around from school after school after school, and you cannot turn to him or a Harvard kid that was a walk-on. Like, that's what you have waiting in the wings. I can't buy into that. It literally is, in my opinion, the reason why we are putting the whole thing that we are doing was saying Florida is a team to watch for. They may be the most underrated and the most overrated team, depending on the health of DJ Lagway going into this year. It literally is right in that middle ground.
He's got to be healthy, and limit him in fall, limit him as much as you can. I mean, I don't know how much you'll need him against Long Island, even if or USF, like to start the year. But shoot, you got a back-to-back road trip after that at LSU and Miami, and he's got to be pretty close to 100%. Those games will be tough, even if he is 100%. Let's be very fair. I do think that you've got to figure out a way for him to make it through this season if you want to have any hope. I mean, shoot, if Billy Napier retaining his job, as we're talking, I saw Ari Wasserman has Napier number 1 on his hot seat still, and so we could argue that and say maybe that's a little high or whatever. But yeah, if Napier wants to coach again next year, Lagway's health is going to be tied to that in a big, big way.